starting with routine correspondence. Communication not only plays an important role when you are organizing something special for your company, but also it is a very important tool that needs to be learned due to the routine activities of any business. So, about routine correspondence, we can say that it is a part of normal routine like sometimes you need to give orders, sometimes you need to take feedback, you need to solve grievances. So, there are many routine things for which communication is important. Secondly, it includes memos, letters, emails. So, these are some kind of reports that we use on a daily basis. Then it is a primary means to communicate with the outside and inside the organization. So, we can say primary means of communication. So, these are 3 points which make it very clear that why you need or what all kinds of reports are needed on a routine basis. Now, we will learn about these different reports in detail. So, starting with our first report for routine correspondence, and these are your circulars. Circular is a very common term used in organizations. Whenever any information has to be circulated among the employees, the best and the easiest way is to use the circular. So, it is an effective communication tool for employees and your customers. Why many organizations rely on circulars? Due to some benefits. First, it is fast as well as inexpensive. It is identifiable with the audience. If you give a catchy heading, then it will attract more number of employees. Lastly, it follows the AIDA principle, which is your attention, interest, desire and action. So, AIDA principle is well adopted in your circulars. So, these are 4 basic benefits for which many companies rely greatly on circulars. Then next comes your notices. Notices are another very common tool for internal communication within organization. Notices. Now, there are some conditions or you can say attributes of notices. One is that it remains effective for less than 6 months. And after this period, you need to cancel the notice and you can issue a new one if you want to make any changes. So, for basic understanding, we can say that a notice is effective for less than 6 months. Then you have a cancellation provision, because if the notice was made for a particular period and that date has exceeded, so it is considered as self cancelled. So this good thing about notice is that it has a cancellation provision. Lastly, it carries a specific date and also a what if condition. Like if one thing is not followed, then what? Like if it is for notice regarding attendance, so if it is written that by 9:15 if employee does not reach the office, then what is the action that would be taken? So it definitely includes your what if aspect. Then the period of notice should be specific. So these are the few very important attributes regarding notices. Another very common issue that every organization encounters is of handling complaints. So how can you make this procedure effective? Both for the employees as well as for the employer. So how can one handle complaints effectively? There are some points. One is listen with an open mind. Just not listen to any complaint for the sake of listening. You need to listen it with an open mind. Next is repeat the problem back. This means that suppose if an employee is coming to you with some problem and his way of expressing the problem would be different and your way of interpreting the same is different. So it is very important that when the person approaches you, you repeat the problem to yourself to get a better understanding of the same. Then next is empathize and assure. Only if you empathize with the person coming with the complaint, then only he will feel motivated that yes, some action would be taken. So this is very important to make your complaint handling effective. Lastly, make sure you follow up. Don't just listen empathetically and forget about it. You need to follow it up, bring it to the notice of concerned authorities so as to make your complaint handling effective. After complaint handling, another routine correspondence is your evaluating the interview performance. Interviews are regularly organized in every organization, so you need to have that skill of evaluating those interviews effectively, which is again a routine job. So how to do that effectively? One is communicate in advance. Like if you have called an employee for some job position regarding an interview and he has been selected. Now from the day of joining there are certain documents that has to be submitted. So you need to inform the employee about that well in advance so that when he joins he come well prepared with those documents. Then is evaluate performance of entire year, or you can say evaluate yearly performance. Because if every month you will approach the employee that about his performance, so that will make him demotivated. So make sure that you evaluate the performance on an yearly basis. Thirdly, plan your interview at a proper time and place. The time and place should be convenient both to the interviewer and the interviewee. Always encourage discussion, because you not only need that the employee knows about your terms and conditions, you also need to know about his level of comfort. So, always encourage discussion, and at the end, once you are discussing, then you establish common goals after mutual understanding. These are some points that, if followed carefully, would definitely bring effective evaluating effective interviews. Now this was all about Next, very common routine correspondence are your formal invitations. Many events are organized in an organization for which formal invitation has to be given. So there has to be a proper format regarding those invitations. First, you need to decide on the event theme, whether it is a professional event or it is a motivational event. So be very sure about the theme. Create electronic invite. Electronic invite is a sure shot way to ensure that your invite has reached the guest. Thirdly, also create printed invite. This proves that your effort is actually from the heart and you want the person to attend the event. Next is write formal invites. Don't be very casual in inviting someone. You need to use formal language while writing the invites. Begin with the venue overview. Venue is very important for any event, so it is important that you explain it properly, because people are coming from different places, so they need to be very sure about the venue in order to reach on time. Begin venue overview. Event schedule should be with the participants well in advance so that they come prepared about the timings and all. Very important aspects are your meeting logistics, like your accommodation and the facilities that would be provided. This has to be mentioned clearly in advance. Make sure you are ready with your financial agenda depending on the estimate of participants that would be coming. And lastly, a welcome letter. The person should feel wanted. For this, it is important to draft a welcome letter. So these are points that should be adopted for effective formal invitations. After invitations, another routine correspondence are your captions and advertisements. These include your ads on billboards, then bus shelters, signages. These are beneficial both for internal as well as external communication, and also some slogans. All these come under captions and advertisements. So, how to make them effective? The contrast or the colors used should be very well mixed with the theme for which the advertisement and the audience for which it is meant. So, one is contrast, second is the space that you are using. Space also plays an important role in ensuring effectiveness of your advertisements. Third is the proximity. Then last is your consistency. Either it is a small ad or a signage or a bus shelter ad, whether anything it is, you need to be very consistent, you should be proximate, you should be using effective or efficient use of space, and then the colors and the combinations used should be a good contrast so that it attracts the audience. Another very important aspect of routine internal communication is your dividends. This is a very common financial term, and it is a payment that the company makes to the stakeholders for having a share in their organization. So, it is made to the stockholders. To understand the meaning of dividends, you should know that it is an interest on funds. These stockholders are investing their money in the company, and in return of this they receive dividend. Then next is, it is a mandatory payment for the organization. If someone is investing, they need to pay dividend. It is very important from accounting purpose because the same has to be recorded. And last is your reporting. These are few inseparable attributes of dividends. Another very formal and inseparable part of routine correspondence is your MOA, which means Memorandum of Association. Now again, it is a written document in which specific details need to be mentioned correctly. So, there are several clauses. This is a document that is legally accepted and the company can present it in court also. So, there are some clauses which needs to be followed. One is the name clause. Second is your office clause. Third is objective. Fourth is liability. Capital clause, and lastly association clause. These are some legal aspects of your memorandum of association of any organization. Another very common term used in daily business are the minutes of a meeting. Minutes are basically a written record during, before as well as after the meeting. So, let us understand in this simpler manner wherein we categorize the minutes as before the meeting, during the meeting and after the meeting. Now what all comes before the meeting? Choice of tool means whether you will be using pen, pencil or you will be using a PPT. So this has to be very well decided before the meeting. Then is make sure that your tool is working. Because if you need to give a PPT presentation, so you need to ensure well in advance that the projector is working, electricity is proper. So you need to make sure this before the meeting. Use meeting agenda to form an outline. So all this comes before your meeting. Now what comes while the meeting is being conducted? Passing attendance sheet. You must have observed that whenever you go for a meeting, seminar or a conference, there is someone who is passing the attendance sheet. This is just to maintain the record that who were the participants of the meeting. Then get list of members. Make sure that you are ready with the list of members, because there should not be any member who is uninvited. Note start time. Timing is an important aspect. You need to be very sure that the meeting starts and ends well in time. Don't write all comments. You can obviously write down the main points, but make sure that you don't write all the comments, because that would be quite inappropriate. And lastly, you need to note ending time. This will help to make an estimate that things went properly as per the plan. Now the minutes of the meeting that are prepared after the meeting include writing the minutes. Secondly, you should include name of organization clearly. Properly mention duration of the meeting. Lastly, make sure that whatever you have written, you are proofreading the same so as to ensure that there is no mistake. So these are the 3 durations at which the minutes of the meeting have to be prepared.